Humanity did not choose to abandon its home. By the mid-23rd century, the climate that once nurtured civilization had fractured into violent corridors of heat and cold. Habitable zones drifted unpredictably, and cities became seasonal shelters, occupied for months, then evacuated in cycles of survival. In this era of instability, the United Nations Adaptive Settlement Initiative formed the Extraplanetary Settlement Fleet. These vessels were not built to colonize, but to wander, to land briefly on moons and terrestrial-class planets, deploy temporary habitats, and retreat before leaving a permanent scar. Oberon became the architectural logic engine that guided this system. Terrain interpretation, vessel placement, hull subdivision, pod deployment, structural framing, and temporary expansion. Today, we'll walk through the full workflow of Oberon, the sequence that transforms a single landed vessel into a self-contained settlement ready to sustain human life in hostile worlds. Every deployment begins with uncertainty. A vessel arrives above an unfamiliar planetary surface, often without reliable environmental data. Oberon's first responsibility is to determine where the ship can safely touch down. Terrain input plus landing location finder component. The component begins by sampling topography, evaluating slope, curvature, and local variation using a flexible search density. Higher densities produce meticulous, cautious scans. Lower densities provide quick reconnaissance. The goal is simple: identify surface regions large enough, stable enough, and flat enough to accept the vessel's footprint. For each viable region, Oberon calculates a flatness score and generates a landing plane aligned to the local topographical angle. These planes become the vessel's potential orientation frames, anchors for a safe descent. This step is more than algorithmic. It is the digital instinct of a ship ensuring it will not fail the moment it meets the ground. Vessel landing. Once viable landing zones are found, Oberon moves to the descent phase. Using the chosen landing plane, Oberon rotates and positions the vessel to align naturally with the planet's surface. A bounding box ensures the transformation is stable, preventing distortions caused by uneven or irregular geometry. A small offset maintains visual clarity, reflecting the cushion or hover phase before the vessel fully settles. Once placed, the vessel becomes the center of a rapidly forming settlement, its hull now acting as the foundation for everything to come. Section 3. Hull extraction. But the vessel's full geometry isn't suitable for architectural transformation. Oberon requires a simplified core hull, a clean, minimal surface designed specifically for subdivision and expansion. This deployment hull is extracted from the landed configuration so that its geometry truly reflects the vessel's final orientation on the surface. If multiple hull segments are intended for deployment, they are merged. This ensures a single unified surface for subdivision, predictable, parametric, and structurally coherent. This step is crucial. A vessel can land on uneven terrain, but pods must deploy from geometry that is controlled, logical, and built for transformation. Section 4. Vessel subdivision. Now the vessel begins to behave like architecture. Oberon subdivides the hull using U and V parameters, producing a field of modular surface patches. Each patch is a potential node, a place where a pod might grow, a scaffold might attach, or infrastructure might emerge. For each subdivided surface, Oberon calculates a centroid for placement logic an outward normal for extrusion direction, and a parent index for organizational control. This grid transforms the vessel from a static form into a dynamic catalog of architectural possibilities. Modularity is survival. Standardized patch logic ensures the system works across diverse vessels and diverse worlds. Section 5. Pod Deployment. With the subdivision complete, Oberon determines which regions of the hull will develop into pods. A percentage input controls how much of the hull becomes habitable space, reflecting mission priorities, crew size, environmental hazards, or scientific objectives. A random seed distributes these pods across the surface, ensuring varied and adaptive settlement patterns. Extrusion distance defines the internal volume of each pod. This value represents programmatic necessity: workspace, shelter, storage, or life support modules. As the pods extend outward, the vessel shifts from transportation to habitation. It becomes a temporary city, compact, adaptive, and reversible. Section 6. Scaffolding. Inflatable pods cannot survive alone. They require a structural envelope that stabilizes the soft membrane against pressure, wind, and environmental stress. Oberon generates a lattice of piped edges along the pod boundaries, terminating cleanly at the hull. This exoskeletal frame functions as both restraint and protection, creating a rigidized network that supports the expanded membrane. It is not merely decoration. It is the architecture of survival, lightweight, deployable, and capable of supporting temporary life in alien environments. This is the Oberon system, not a tool of colonization, but of temporary survival, a framework that allows humanity to breathe, to pause, to recover, before moving on again. Through analysis, subdivision, deployment, and structural formation, Oberon turns a single landed vessel into a functioning, temporary settlement. A home that leaves no scar. A structure built only for the time it is needed. A future shaped one patch at a time.